The line before the last on page Mem. After having pointed out the union that hashpah, a sechel, is a ha-arah, and therefore it is mugbal. It is mugbal in terms of how far it can be effective, how come it can be mispashit, where it can be have any effect. It says that ultimately we have to say that there is an element of tzimzum that comes into effect over here. Because if the oil were unaffected by tzimzum, an oil that brings out the light of the ha-etzem without the process of tzimzum, then it would be like the tzimzum, and it will have the quality of Ein-Sof.
It would not be a ha-arah.
Then it would not be ha-arah in effect, even though it is only oil. But oil that represents the ha-etzem, it does not inherently have an union of Hagbala, even though it is only oil. But this oil is like the ha-etzem. The means by which we can understand this, and the mashal for this, is the sun itself. In the sun, as we pointed out many times, there is the sun, the effect of the presence of the sun, and the effect of the light and the energy as it emanates from the sun. That which emanates as light is only oil, in effect, only oil to not to represent the sun, but to represent the Ayin of the sun, just the ha-arah. And that has a limited effect. Has been pointed out many times, the sun does not transform the world. The light of the sun does not transform it, only makes it visible in darkness. Then there is another element in sun that we call day. The sun rules the world. That is a completely different effect. That it has no boundaries. It's just because this is affected by the presence of the sun itself, which is the ha-arah and oil from the presence of the sun. An oil coming that represents the presence of the sun has the same quality and the same reality as the sun itself. The sun is an ha-etzem, and this oil has an atzmius power and atzmius presence. As we explained many times, that the sun is an ha-etzem, that when the sun rises, it becomes day, is not the spreading forth and the journey of the oil. It is the presence of the sun itself. How does the presence of the sun do anything? Because the sun is an atzmi. This is the quality of an atzmi. An atzmi, wherever it comes, it affects its presence. Its presence is automatically recognized wherever it is. Closer to home, we mentioned many times, it's a very vivid and quite close to our mind principle, that the home in which you live has your oil, your presence, in every corner of that home. Regardless, in your dining room and in the closet, and in the pantry, and in the basement, and in the attic. There's no boundary. Why? Because this is the home, as we pointed out, the home. This represents the atzmiyus of the human being. Odom shein Beis ein Odom. This represents the fact that the human being is an atzmi. In the Eibushin gave him that kind of a presence in the world, a real presence, not a functioning presence, but a fundamental presence. And therefore, that presence really has no bounds. It doesn't have to be present. He doesn't have to be visiting every last room in his house in order to that it should be felt that this is his home. This we spoke about many times. And this is the pshat that the oyer, shehu bechinas gilui ha-etzem, oyer that has the quality of gilui ha-etzem of being megala, of presenting, hey, there's an etzem over here. Then that oyer knows no bounds, just like the etzem itself. The fact that the oyer has a hagbola, it is only because it comes al de ha-tzimzum. And we explained, what is the tzimzum? What is the function? Where does the tzimzum come in? The tzimzum is where the etzem does not want to be present, it only wants to affect a certain thing. And that's a tzimzum. Therefore he comes out in oil only, not in the etzem. By the way, I just want to step back for a moment. I listened to the class yesterday, and we were talking about the chinuch of children, that the idea is a chinuch is not to take things away from the child, but to make the child grow on his own independently. At the moment, I didn't think of it, but in my experience with talking to parents in all kinds of different situations, so there was a moment where a parent came and said they're perplexed. Why are they perplexed? That no matter how they try to influence their child, it doesn't work. How they're trying to influence their child. They're constantly encouraging the child by saying, if you do this, mommy is going to be very happy. Mommy likes this, mommy likes that. So I explained to that loving mommy, you missed the whole point. You're taking from the child away their sense of reality, of their own reality. The child cannot be doing things because mommy likes it. The child has to be doing it because it's true, because God wants it. Not because mommy wants it. And this is why you're failing. The child, it doesn't resonate with the child. What's the point? For a while it may be, oh, I want to be, but if it does resonate with the child, then you're actually doing a big disfavor. And I pointed to the fact that when we went by the Rebbe to take dollars, and we had little children in our hand, I myself experienced that. And mamish little children. Relative to the situation, like an infant, it takes some time to take the dollar. So you try to take the dollar from them and give it to the child. The Rebbe would refuse, would not let you take it. Let the kid take it. You're standing there, a spielkis, because it's taking all that time. The Rebbe has all the time. All right, 2 lines from the bottom. רק, except, על ידי שבו על ידי הצמצום, הרי הוא בהגבול. But by virtue of the fact that the oil comes through the tzimzum, we explained already before, in just now, I says, where does the tzimzum come from? What's the function of the tzimzum? הרי הוא בהגבול. That's why it becomes Agbola. The Rav does not want to teach his Talmud and say, learn this because I understand it. That's not the point. Learn this because you can understand it. And therefore this has to come to a tzimzum. וכשם שהצמצום מגביל ומעיד האור בעניין הגילוי שלוי, just as the tzimzum limits and reduces the oil in binyan hagilui as to how much it represents, how much it speaks about the etzem. Similarly, it limits it in a manner that its effect, how far it spreads. However, according to what we're saying now, that it is the effect of the tzimzum, so therefore we are kind of backrolling the whole thing. We're saying the whole time that the reason there is a limit is because it's ha-arah. We say no, ha-arah itself would not have that effect. It is a tzimzum. So it explains, however, but the whole principle of tzimzum is not applicable to the etzem. It's only possible in the oil. Canada. So therefore, yes, it is still the principle of being a ha-arah. And the ha-arah goes to a tzimzum, and a tzimzum is only possible in the ha-arah. Similarly, we will understand ha-arah is ha-nefesh in the ha-arah, and what the nefesh brings to the goof, the light that the nefesh brings to the goof. The klolus ha-arah hu al-yedei tzimzum. Klolus ha-arah means the overall ha-arah of the nefesh is to a tzimzum. Meaning to say, not only the message that the specifics that you learn from the nefesh, but the very fact that there is a nefesh in the goof is presented to the goof, to the person, through a tzimzum. And this is why, in reflection, it is possible to take the ha-arah ha-nefesh in the goof, the fact that I'm alive, and ignore the whole principle that I'm alive, and let the goof, and the goof becomes the whole center of the person's life. Whereas in the real truth is the life element is what's significant. The reason we understand, the reason we feel is because we have a life element, not because there is a logical imperative for this. The goof will not understand anything. The goof is a dummy. But because that klolus ha-arah, that it overall the neshama's presence in the goof comes to a tzimzum. The neshama comes into the goof to give it life, not to transform it into neshama. So that now all awareness of the neshama has to be acceptable in the goof.
This is to say that the tzimzum is so profound that it can speak to the dummy, speak to the goof, and bring it, not transform it, but bring it life. Is this what's being
Well, it does not. It does not really speak to the dummy. The dummy remains a dummy, but there is a sensitivity that it allows. It allows for the to be aware of the oil, of the oil nefesh. the goof never becomes wise. The goof never becomes alive. The life in the goof always is the presence of the nefesh, except that the goof allows that presence, it senses that, allows that presence to be recognized. And this is why what's called, this is the principle of refining the goof, refining your brain, refining your heart. Because the more refined it is, the more you sense the chayes hanefesh. So the ha-arah hanefesh, klolos ha-roshi tzimzum. The overall ha-arah of the nefesh in the goof is through tzimzum.
I just have a question. The top line, this amnam. What's the point of the amnam?
I explained that what we just now said, that it comes to the tzimzum. If you go back 4 lines from the bottom of the previous page, the beginning of the parentheses, it says, "Mikol mokom tzorich leimer." What is mikol mokom tzorich leimer? After having explained that the ha-arah has a hagbola, and he said that this is it, and nevertheless, they still have to admit and recognize that the real cause of the hagbola is because it comes to the tzimzum. So we have been talking about the ha-arah and making such a profound pain, such an emphatic pain that ha-arah is hagbola, and then we say no, it's not the ha-arah, it's a tzimzum in the ha-arah. This he says, however, you have to understand that tzimzum and ha-arah have a relationship. Only ha-arah can come to a tzimzum, can be niba to a tzimzum. And therefore it is still the principle that we explained before, it's ha-arah that has the hagbot. Okay, so again, the ha-arah of the nefesh in the goof, klolos ha-arah, the overall ha-arah, the very fact that we have life, we do not have a nefesh. We have a ha-arah that's mislabish in the goof. A ha-arah that the life is felt, like we said, it's a living body. And this is why, as we said, it's possible to be unaware of it. Ubiprat. Here, there's much to speak about this, but this is the limit. Ubiprat, particularly, particularly when we speak about the koichos that are drawn from the nefesh, v'giluyim protein, and specific messages, expressions from the nefesh. Such as feelings, midas, and so forth. This is all through tzimzum. Gentlemen, this is of enormous impact here. And this is because we speak about this all the time. This brings us up to the point of what is explained elsewhere. Shegiloi hakoichos, that the gilui, the revelation of the koiches from the nefesh. Hein berotzen, the koiches come from the nefesh by by the will of the nefesh. They don't emanate from the nefesh. Because there's a nefesh, there's life, and therefore automatically there's koiches. The nefesh has a rotzin to bring forth koiches. It goes through a rotzin. It is proactive. There's a decision on part of the nefesh to give forth koiches.
As opposed to a nefesh just sort of having these faculties.
Right. Meaning to say that when the nefesh wants to be mashpia, as for example, he wants to understand something, thereby, as a result of this want, he is mischakim, he actually gets the chokhmah. Yes, this is the point. Which points to the fact the Giloi HaKoicha is Hein al Dei Horotzen Davke. That the Koiches come forth not from the Etzem HaNefesh, but there is a filter of the Rotzen. And therefore, as a result, Yesh Bozet Tzimzum. Therefore, it's readily understandable that since it comes to a rotzen, there's a funnel, a conduit, a process through which it comes. Yes, but that's tzimzum. The zayin and rotza in oisi is tzinoir. This is in fact the inyan of rotzen. Rotzen, oisi is tzinoir has the letters of the word tzinoir. Tzinoir means a funnel, a conduit. Validei ha-tzimzum, and therefore through the tzimzum hu shemitzamtzum es atzmei lahashpia. Of inyan, inyan ha-tzimzum hu, what is the inyan of the tzimzum shemitzamtzum es atzmei lahashpia? He's mitzamtzum himself lahashpia, to bring forth this shefa. He doesn't come automatically. The fact that he has this koyach automatically flows out. No, mitzamtzum es atzmei lahashpia focuses into mashpia. And therefore, then the hashpoah itself, it's both. It is the element of the nefesh that is involved in hashpoah is metzumtzum. It is being goes through the filter of rotzen, and then the hashpoah itself is also has a tziyur metzumtzum. Okay, before we go on, I just want to speak about this rotzin element. And we see from this, and we pointed out many times in the earlier, rotzin is imperative. This is the human being. Even though he has many, many faculties, the rotzin is what defines his faculties. Just to speak briefly about the rotzin itself. Where does the rotzin come from? What is it about? So we explained many times the expression Kol dover roitze b'kiyumoi, that the principle rotzon is dover roitze b'kiyumoi. And we explained roitze b'kiyumoi not to be confused with the stupidity of survival. Roitze b'kiyumoi means he wants to be that quality, that aspect which Hashem has defined for him, what he is. Why? Because this is how he relates to Hashem, to Elokus. This is his reality. With this, we will be able to focus in and understand what is Rotzon. We have to understand the following. And I will step off for a moment and take an analogy, take some kind of a mashal. We all know that the world, the space, is limitless. There are stars that are thousands of light years away from us. We can't even begin to contemplate that distance. When we function, when we walk out into the street, what is our orientation? In what space are we functioning? In thousands of light years space? Or are we functioning in a definitive space that we can relate to? We function in a definitive space that we can relate to. This definitive place that we can relate to, this is not a lie. This is a truth. This is that part of the reality of the world to which we can relate to. We're not saying that this is all there is, but this is the periphery in which we exist, in which we function. Which means, when we walk out, we walk in a reality. But which reality? The reality that we define for ourselves. Is that a false reality? No, not at all. Because that's a reality that is defining, that comes and is so to speak demarcating, taking apart from the overall reality. The same thing as we're saying, we have a home. This home is very limited. But we absolutely recognize this home, this limited home, is limiting what? The space that is unlimited. And its limiting its purposes is to limit so that we can orient to it. It doesn't say that this is the whole reality. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, that we mention all the times, if a person wants tranquility, wants not to be disturbed, send him away to space. So there's no other space, there's no other reality except his little capsule. He won't be able to survive. He won't. That's not acceptable at all. Yeah, he wants to live in a finite area, but not finite in the sense that there is no greater infinity beyond it. This is a finite area that comes from the infinite. This is how a person lives. Rotzon is called a koyach makifi. Now I'm going to have to be very brief. Rotzon is a koyach makifi. Rotzon represents the truth of the nefesh. The truth of the nefesh is an atzmi, there is no limit. But if it presents it in a finite manner, it itself draws from the infinite. but it presents a finite focus. This is the Nifun Rots. And therefore it gives a finite platform to which the sechel can relate to.
In what way is it giving a finite platform? We usually say Ratzon is so undefined. Ratzon lichios, because we cannot.
I explained. Ratzon lichios, right? You want to have a home. Take the Empire State Building as your home.
So already that will to live has a definition of
Has
what
a definition.
living, what
That's
living would mean.
that's right. It's, even though it's part of the overall truth.
Yeah.
And this is it for this morning. Mr. Shem, you have a chance to reflect on it. I think this is something that needs to be reflected on. Have a good day.
Is this saying that the Ratzin itself is not something, or that there's something which is the Ratzin here is that the Ratzin is that the Ratzin itself is that which is mitzams and that which comes.
Right. That's a different Ratzin. Ratzin means that I'm taking from the Etzem a focused element.
Sounds similar to how you describe.
But I'm taking it with the same force as the Etzem. That's what Ratzin means. I don't have to justify why I want it. I want it.
Sounds similar to how we described Chachma. That it also sees into and then
Except like we explained yesterday, Chochma is bottled to Ratzin, has it, but Chochma already gives it a perspective. Ratzin does not give a perspective. This is me. Chochma goes ahead and puts it in the sense. It makes sense. That's the way the Chitzonius said it was. All right, this is it for this morning.
Ratzon doesn't make sense, but it still is tailored. It's still sort of not full.
Right.
Mm-hmm.